Kaylee, and today I'm going to tell you about some happy, hopeful books to read during quarantine. I've tried to include books from almost every genre. So I have fiction, kids, nonfiction. I've got just a little bit of everything in here based on, your particular tastes. I mean, now is not the time to be reading like Wuthering Heights or Bleak House, you want something a little more cheerful. Whenever available, I am going to leave links to these books down in the description so you can either purchase it or you can download it for free from places like Project Gutenberg. For my nonfiction pick, I have The Joy of Less. This is a minimalist guide to declutter, organize, and simplify. If you're stuck at home, perfect time to reorganize your house. This book is perfect for people who are curious about minimalism, but maybe not ready to be like a strict minimalist. I find the philosophy very similar to the KonMari method of decluttering. Every item must have a purpose, whether it's useful or it brings you joy. Maybe it brings beauty into your life or it just makes you happy. For Christian nonfiction, I have The Joyful Christian by C.S. Lewis. These are excerpts from a whole bunch of different C.S. Lewis writings all about being a joyful Christian. You guys know I love middle grade, so I have a whole ton of really fun, just happy middle grade books. Ballet Shoes is about Pauline, Petrova, and Posey. They are orphans who are determined to help their family by joining the Children's Academy of Dancing. It's really touching and interesting and just fun. Minnow on the Say by Philippa Pierce. David can't believe his eyes when he discovers a canoe at the bottom of his garden named the Minnow. He traces the owner and together they begin a summertime treasure hunt. This is a calming and relaxing book, just floating down the river, but also with the excitement of a treasure hunt. And Remarkable by Lizzie K. Foley. This is a very, very funny book. It's about the town of Remarkable, where everyone is extraordinarily talented. Everyone, that is, except Jane, who is painfully average. Then I have a few more children's books, not like picture books, but maybe for, 8 to 10-year-olds. Although, of course, if you're 38 like me, you can read them and enjoy them too. The Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle books by Betty McDonald. The mothers in town always ask Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle for advice when their children misbehave, because she has a special understanding of children, and she knows how to play imaginative games with them. This is such a cute and funny and weird book. One of my favorite Roald Dahl books is Danny the Champion of the World. Danny's father teaches him the ancient art of poaching, and those two have splendiferous adventures together. The connection between father and son is so precious, and this whole book is delightful. Island of the Ants by Eva Ibbotson. Aunt Etta, Aunt Coral, and Aunt Myrtle need help caring for mermaids and selkies and other magical creatures who live on their hidden island. So they kidnap some children to help with the chores. It's fantastic, imaginative. I love this book. It had me gasping in surprise and just laughing and laughing some more. Half Magic by Edward Eager. When 4 siblings find a talisman that grants wishes, they discover that it only gives you half of what you wish for. And of course, the children make very mistaken wishes with hilarious results. It's a rollicking magical adventure through time and space right there in the children's own backyard. I have one fantasy recommendation for you, and it's the Enchanted Forest Chronicles, starting with Dealing with Dragons by Patricia C. Reed. Cimarine hates having to be a proper princess. She's so bored with the palace that she runs away to live with a dragon and have adventures. It's magical and fun and witty. It's wonderful. These are written more probably for young adult, I think. Next, I have some children's and middle grade classics. Granny's Wonderful Chair by Frances Brown. 7 fairy tales are told by a magical chair belonging to a young girl, and all the king's court are fascinated by the stories. 5 Children and It by Edith Nesbit. 5 siblings find a cantankerous sand fairy who grants them wishes, but the magic always goes wrong with hilarious results. Hans Brinker and the Silver Skates by Mary Mapes Dodge. A lovely story about poor children in the Netherlands and how their fortunes change through their hard work and compassion. Under the Lilacs by Louisa May Alcott. Ben and his trained dog Sancho run away from the circus and soon find a warm welcome with a new village family. It's lovely and sweet. And one of my favorite classics for children, The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame. A sweet and calming story about animals who live by the riverbank. And now some classics for adults. Emma by Jane Austen is witty and funny with lots of hilarious characters, and there are a lot of mishaps for poor, foolish Emma. I think people really underestimate the amazing comedy that Jane Austen can write, and Emma is definitely one of her funniest. One of Robert Louis Stevenson's lesser known books is The Wrong Box. This book is hilarious. It's kind of a mystery spoof. It is one ridiculous circumstance after another when a body goes missing. The body gets lost in the wrong box and the characters are just running all over each other trying to figure it out. And there are far too many uncles. Why does everyone and their mother have an uncle who just magically appears in the middle of a scene? The dialogue is snappy. The whole thing is just so funny. It's completely wild. And a modern classic, Anne of Green Gables by Lucy Maud Montgomery. An orphan girl is adopted by a brother and sister in the small town of Avonlea. She's imaginative and smart, and she gets into all kinds of mischief. It's charming and delightful. I do have a couple more YA. 8 Cousins by Louisa May Alcott. A shy girl comes to live with her uncles and is surrounded by her boisterous cousins, all boys. Gradually, Rose begins to come out of her shell and she adapts to her big, loud family. It's a simple and sweet story about family love. Sorcery and Cecilia, or The Enchanted Chocolate Pot by Patricia C. Reed. Cecilia and Kate are 2 best friends who have some mishaps with magic in Victorian England. They unravel mysteries and confront spies and stumble from one magical accident to the next. This one is really charming. And I have 3 graphic novels to tell you about. The life-changing manga of Tidying Up. This is the Marie Kondo method told in a fictional story. I love this manga about Chiaki, who hires Marie Kondo to help her declutter and clean up her apartment. She gets tidying lessons and discovers a new life for herself. This Was Our Pact by Ryan Andrews. This book is so beautiful and whimsical. I was just enchanted from the very beginning. It's about this group of friends who decide to follow a river on the magical autumn festival. The lovely artwork, the imaginative plot, the emotional characters. I was just entranced on every page. A Sea of Love by Wilfred Lupano. A simple fisherman gets up one morning, eats breakfast with his wife, sets out to sea, hoping for a good catch. But his day does not go as planned. It's hilarious and really sweet. And I have one comic to tell you about, Wallace the Brave. Wallace and his friends explore the creeks and woods around their home. They fly kites and build a clubhouse. It's adorable and funny with all the innocence and magic of childhood. I have a couple of mysteries that I really love. Raffles the Amateur Cracksman by E.W. Hornung. This is the counterpoint to Sherlock Holmes, and it's very similar in style, except that Raffles is a gentleman thief with a heart of gold. And I really love the Aunt Dimity series by Nancy Atherton, which starts with Aunt Dimity's death. Laurie discovers that her godmother, whom she has never met, has died, leaving a mystery behind, along with a supernatural journal that allows Laurie to write to her godmother from the beyond. It sounds morbid, but it's actually really hilarious and very silly. I love Aunt Dimity. It's just such funny books. And lastly, I have some adventure books. Tom Sawyer Abroad by Mark Twain is my favorite of all the Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn books. Tom, Huck, and Jim are traveling the world in a balloon. They cross the Atlantic and they end up in the Sahara Desert. It's hilarious and wild. And lastly, I have The Black Stallion by Walter Farley. Alec is heading home aboard a steamship when the ship sinks in a storm and there are only two survivors, Alec and a beautiful black stallion. The two are washed ashore on a small island where they forage for food and Alec tames the wild stallion. I was completely riveted with this book. The writing has such good pacing and the action really moves swiftly along. The characters are very energetic and tough with good hearts. The only genre that I was not able to figure out a happy and hopeful and funny book for is the sci-fi genre. Most of the sci-fi that I've read is kind of dark sometimes. Lots of people die and there's wars going on and it tends to be kind of dystopian and stuff. So I don't have any happy or hopeful or funny sci-fi to share with you. Please leave me a comment down below and let me know what is some really fun, happy sci-fi that you would recommend to all of us. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and remember, the right book in the right hands at the right time can change the world.